Welcome to the Magdalene Codes. I'm your host Valeria Marie Tignini, and today's show is about how one and all are shifting into the new wave of consciousness in such that we can start to feel the oneness with all. For thousands of years, we've been waiting for this time to allow for our hearts to be more centered and let the ego subside. We are now in full immersion into the fifth dimensional reality where we can no longer sustain ourselves if we do not shift into the heart consciousness. So take a journey with us to Glastonbury, England, where our special guest today had a spiritual awakening being in the midst of the fields of Glastonbury. And if you don't know where Glastonbury is, or what Glastonbury has inspired in many, many people, stay tuned.
Hi everyone, welcome to Magdalene Codes. I'm with special guest Susan Nefzger, who written a book inspired by her experiences after she went to Glastonbury, England. And the book is called A Practical Guide to Awareness. Yes? How are you, Susan?
I'm well, thank you. I'm good.
I'm so excited to have you here because the way we met was you reached out to me, but then as soon as you reached out to me, we had this instant connection.
Yes.
And like a sisterhood that we already, it's like we already knew each other somehow through spirit.
And through maybe our past lives together in the Christ consciousness.
Yes.
Magdalene. I'm sure that's our connection.
So I'm really excited to share the story about how you reconnected with some, let's call it past lives or some roots that you had in Glastonbury. You want to tell us about that story?
Sure. So in 2015, I was saying to myself, I finally had time to write the book I always thought I would write my whole life, but I had never had any idea what that book was going to be. Never. So I had been getting information from the International Association for Conscious and Creative Writing, and I never had time to look at all the information. And then one day it was about a retreat in Glastonbury, and I just felt a really strong pull, and I just knew I had to go. So I went to this retreat, and with no expectations, purposely. And I really didn't even know the history of Glastonbury Abbey, and that Joseph of Arimathea had built the first church of England there, and that he had gone there right after the crucifixion during the persecution with all the Marys and all the Marthas and some of the disciples. I didn't even really understand fully what the reunion would be for me. And so, which was probably a good thing. So when I got there, it was evening, and we had our opening ceremony, which was very beautiful. And the next day, we did our conscious writing, getting into creative conscious alignment. I walked out into the gardens of Glastonbury Abbey, the ruins, and I started writing my book. It's very emotional. I'm sorry, I do this every time because it just flowed. The whole book just flowed. And so I didn't really worry about what I was writing. I was just writing it and by hand. So I started writing it, and I just kept writing for the next 6 weeks. So what came through me were two things: the Practical Guide to Awareness, which is the book, but also what also came.
I love that cover.
Well, it's also activational.
Mm-hmm.
What it really is the circle of life, the flower of life, but in stained glass with light beams.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. So what came along with the Practical Guide, and it's all very spiritual, but was the reminiscence of this woman of faith. And I didn't think about who it was. It was just a lot to download. So every day in the morning, I would get up and it would come through me. So I wrote all that, and then, the publishing process ensued, an editor, and then editing it myself and typing it, because I had written it all in longhand in journals.
Right.
And so it took a long time. And then I finally self-published it last year. And so now, I'm talking about it with people, sharing the information. But the two stories combined, or the two, it's just a very strong journey of faith for this woman who, through all her doubts and fears and everything, and it's all there in the book. And it was very real for me. It was very raw for me. There were days when I would write something from her story that would be a memory for me, this is Mary Magdalene. I never really wanted to identify it for the reader, because it could be different for the reader. But what it does is it illustrates the practical guide, because the practical guide is all about finding out what your true gift is, to share it with the world, so that we can all eventually ascend. Because if we're all sharing our gift, because we each have a unique gift, so if we're all sharing our gift, then we're all uplifting the planet, and eventually that will come to be. So what happens is that her reminiscencing that I've written, it illustrates the practical guide through all the steps. I mean, obviously in a much more visceral way, because her journey was very difficult. And I didn't know. I had no idea, how do I know this? Why do I feel this? Because some days I would be writing in the morning and I would know there's no way I could talk to anyone the rest of the day, because that's how I would just be completely raw, because I have the memory of the crucifixion. I have leaving my body. I say as I channeled it. And there's a lot of very powerful memories included in the story.
So that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you. You have this memory. So is it a channeling of, what I like to call like a soul channeling?
Well, yes, I just don't use that word, because
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
a lot of times, I just like to say I was inspired or I was led, and I just feel like, of course, I channeled it, because it's what I chose. It's what we're choosing together. And I feel like you and I and other women in the divine feminine, that's all the divine feminine energy that's now coming to bear witness on the planet, because now it really is time. And that's why we're all coming together to help everyone.
I feel like even men are coming.
Oh, yes. But just specifically the divine feminine.
Yes.
Of what we're talking about, because that Mary Magdalene is the divine feminine.
Yes.
So for me, yes, men, of course, everyone, we're all souls, but we're in female bodies.
Yes.
And that's just for whatever reason, that's what it does. But it's just such a strong connection. And I know that you're finding it with various people that are new people that you've met, like me and you and other people. That just doesn't happen.
No.
When you're older, you just don't have, normally you don't have that strong of a connection. Usually you feel that with people you grew up with. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were perfect strangers, and we just exchanged a few messages on WhatsApp, and all of a sudden tears were flowing, as if we were like so like we haven't seen each other in 1,000 years.
That might be it.
Yeah.
It is. Well, yeah, and the things that we also know together.
Yes. The confirmation.
Yes. Was that, I think, was very emotional, because you can't really, or we don't choose to really talk about that with many people. But I knew that I could talk to you about it, but also we both know what we know. And how do we know that?
Right.
When we compare the memories, and that's how I I call it a memory for me because
It is. It's a memory for me as well. Actually, why don't we share some of the memories?
Yeah, great. Well, the one thing we shared that I love is because I was getting these, well, so when I was writing it, it was all a vision also. So some people do, everyone does it differently. So I would see images like a movie. So the one that's very strong, that's even because I read this every day, parts of it every day, because I do quotes with photos on, all my social media. But one of the parts of the book that I remember without even reading it is an image playing, and I'll try not to get emotional. It's really difficult.
I know.
When I wrote it, I remember when I wrote it, and I remember how emotional it was. So I have an image of playing as young children, me or the vision of the girl and the boy, of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and I write it that we felt that we had forever, because in that moment we did have forever. So that's in my book. But that is a true vision of them playing together when they were kids. And you knew that, and I knew that, and we said that almost at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful.
Yeah. We were filling in each other's words.
And there's other moments or other visions in the book like that, like their travels together, whatever they were doing, wherever they were going, all the things they were experiencing. And then, so on her journey from the homeland to Glastonbury, this is her reminiscence of her life as it has gone before. And that's how she stays strong to complete the journey, to be the keeper of the word. Because that's what we know, that is how we became, how we got to have the message. And it's clear. It's clear. And so she has these memories that keep her going, and even when she has strong doubts and she's afraid, because she is in a human body. And so through all that, it's her faith and it's the love from Yeshua and, of course, whoever else is guiding her that keeps her strong. And so that's how the story progresses. And in the book, it's a chapter of the practical guide, and then it'll be part of the reminiscence, and then it integrates like that. And so we just decided to do it that way. The editor and I decided to do that because I really didn't want to put both together.
Right.
I channeled from the outline that everything is in complete order of how it came in. That's how the book is. Exactly. The title, the outline, the table of contents, everything. So it all came in, and that's what I did.
That's great, because there's a sense of purity to the text.
And it's very powerful, isn't it?
Yes. I feel like when you're receiving the information as it comes, then all of a sudden people can kind of step into your shoes and feel exactly what you went through.
It's just amazing. There's really not any way to explain it until you're in that situation. And when you're in the situation, sometimes you feel like you're going crazy.
Yes.
Because you're exhausted. And then you have all these other things that you have to do. You have to do your work with people. You have to know your family.
Yes. You're living multidimensional lives.
And it's really difficult. Yeah, and that's how. So once I knew, as it was happening, I knew that my whole life was completely changed in that moment. I knew that it was a complete transformation of my soul, and that I had awakened to who I really was and what I was meant to do. And I'm over age 50. So I just thought, oh, my life this is how it is. And then boom, in like a matter of days or in hours, it was completely different.
So what were you doing before you wrote the book?
Well, I've been in PR for 30 years. I've been doing PR and writing, and My ex-husband now was opening a restaurant, and my son was getting ready to graduate from high school. So I have clients. I have a client base, and I work with people. And then after that, I just decided to work with like mostly nonprofits and people who helped other people. I changed everything, and then eventually I got a divorce because I just couldn't keep doing anything the same way. I had to do things another way. And I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just how I felt. Like you have to be who you are then. I mean, as you have changed in that transformation. And also this, sharing the information with people and helping people become self-aware was my main motivation. And it's a burning thing. It's like, that's what you have. That's what I'm here to do. So that's what I'm doing. And it's not an in your face kind of a thing. I still do, writing work with people but I love doing the self-awareness work. I love doing workshops with people. And it's of course, like steps to self-awareness to help people on a really straightforward level so people can start easy because people are busy, people work a lot. And so to integrate time, quiet time, creating space in your day, and being self-aware, you have to start small sometimes with people. So that's part of the work I do with people.
Well, coming from where I'm in this place right now, that I'm writing this book,
Right.
and
Exactly.
so I can commiserate with everything that you're going through. I really have no room for anything else besides my raising my daughter, my work, and then the book. And
Right.
it's consumed me and my life. So I can completely understand what you're going through. And it is like living a multidimensional life. It's like your consciousness is halfway into that other lifetime.
And it can be completely at some point.
At some points it is, yes.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I think that a lot of people are experiencing this now.
I do too.
Because we're now integrating our multidimensional self. And I think this is why you're going through all these changes, because you just moved recently as well.
In the last few days.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling, and I know you are, and I know spiritual people are really feeling an up-leveling again.
Yes.
A real up-leveling.
Yes, and it's really deeper in the spirit. I chose this shirt today because it's all about the heart. We're going deeper into our heart consciousness, and I'm starting to feel more and more this connection with so many people. It's like it's almost like you are me and I'm you. That there is no separation.
And that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
We need to. Not need, that's kind of judgmental, but that's how we will ascend, because eventually, hopefully, we'll all understand that we are all one. And
yes.
That's the whole point. I'm sure there are many similar books. They're not written the way mine is. It's very, very spiritual. It's very deep. It's not like do this and you'll be happy kind of a
yeah.
bestseller that is very popular now. It's interactive, and it asks questions for you to ask yourself. And that's why the workbook is also that helps a lot, because it kind of guides you, because it's easy to read it because it's a short book, but then you have to do the work.
Yeah.
That is the work. And that's what and I do it every day.
And that's not short.
As long as we're alive. Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
But it's the kind of book that you would carry in your purse and just keep reading it. It's not like you're going to read it at the beach or on your vacation and then just share it with somebody else.
Right. It's a guide. So, it's like if I say so what I do is I kind of just go to a page every day and I see where I'm led, or I put a quote, on Instagram, because it is uplifting for people. And I think all people need motivation and, some kind of positivity that, oh yeah, right. I am on the right path. Yes, thank you for that reminder. I mean, we all need that every day.
Have you thought about doing workshops?
Well, yes, I'm trying to do workshops now. I want to do workshops. And I do have an online course. I have the curriculum and everything that's on my website that people can sign up for, and I can do it either on demand or groups. But yeah, I've done a couple of workshops, and I want to do them throughout, wherever.
Yeah, because I think people would really love to connect with you in person and
It is
with the
fun.
book.
It's
Yeah.
really fun, and I love that work. That's the funny thing about all this is that anyone, whoever it is, if any person, and I'm led to different people, and it's very interesting how, especially writers and authors, how people, they just start talking, and then it gets to the self-awareness kind of level. And then we start this dialogue, and I love doing that work. I would love doing that work, whether it's with one person or, several people. But it is really important, and it's the one thing that right now is my passion for the obvious reasons that
Yes.
it's.
So why don't you read something from the book?
Okay. Try not to cry. What do you think?
I think we'll do like a taste of the practical. Let's start with the practical guide.
Okay. Well, how about if I read the introduction, because it's really beautiful about
Sure.
how to go into the Abbey and start writing, I think. Right? And then there's a really beautiful in the bow. Do you remember that chapter?
Yeah, I do.
That's beautiful. And I know I can think of that in my head sometimes. It's there. So okay. So I'm reading from the preface. Walking out into the ruins of Glastonbury Abbey, I traveled to a place that flowed within. Inspired by surroundings of my distant past, I began to write. This was the beginning of what was to become my awakening and transformation. Traveling on a personal vision quest my entire life, I have been on my way here to this place. My inner drive, restlessness, and unspoken capacity to find this moment in time. Sitting amidst the floral abundance that lazily swings in the delicate breeze, light flickering under the leaves, I feel a wondrous gratitude. I travel in my mind's eye to the place and time of another existence, of a memory. The touch of the stone brings it all back. The vibration of old continues, it never dies. The Abbey, this place, remains a haven for all that is holy and good. Creation is abundant here, growing, changing, dreaming simultaneously. The earth grows, the seasons change, and we dream of moments such as this in the garden of solitude among the buzzing bees pollinating the flowers. I close my eyes and drift into dreaming. The stone arches are witnesses to history of many types, events we know and others forever secret, except in the vibrations of the stone. Yes, bloody endings occurred here in physical form. All who came to this peaceful sanctuary have felt the magnetic pull, but each had a purpose and fulfilled it, some knowing they would be forever altered by the very act of completing their vision quest. So that was the very first thing I wrote as I sat down.
Yeah, you can tell the space that you're at. It's like you're in transition.
And the Abbey took me there, and the vibration that's there, and I think we all know that that's a vortex.
Absolutely.
Tor, you're looking right up at the Tor. It's all there, the ley lines.
It sounds like you're in a very tender place.
It was just really mind-boggling because I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't expect anything.
Right. You had no precognition.
I knew it was something really, really important. That's all I knew.
Right.
And then it all just started, and I couldn't stop writing.
Yeah, you were just flooded with these codes.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. I mean, it was like, okay, it's time. Let's do it.
Mm.
That's what happened.
But I feel like it went through your heart.
Well, definitely.
It went through your heart. It went through your mind's eye as well so that you could see the vision, but it mostly went through your heart.
Mm-hmm. It did because the emotion and the power of the emotion was so strong. And that's what kept, that's what transformed me, I think. But also, kind of, it was like a switch that just got flipped as soon as I started writing. So that was it.
And you were writing it.
Yes, with a pen.
With a pen. So
I feel like I could go. I don't write with my laptop. I write by hand and then I transfer it.
yeah. But it's different, when there's so much energy when you're writing it.
Yeah, because it's like it's coming in and it's coming in, it's
Through
going.
right through the pen, right?
The energy, that's how, because I think the electronic part of it, I don't know. I just didn't feel like I could go outside and like have a laptop. It just wasn't, there wasn't any flow involved with that.
Actually, it's not possible because the sun will block. You won't be able to see the screen. So you're right.
So let me read from the vow.
Yes.
Look this chapter. Well, it's page 17. So this is in in a reminiscence of Mary Magdalene. In the present moment, I stand before you, heart to heart and soul to soul. What lies ahead of us, for us, we cannot know. The wind of winter brings with it a longing for days past. Running in the green meadows, climbing in the dusty hills, and loving under the stars. We contemplate the fire before us as we vow to belong to one another forever. We are warmed in the knowledge of our deep love and commitment. How long do we have together? We wonder as we clasp hands and join lips in embrace. Vast openness in front of us. We view the galaxy and we ride the starscapes to the heavens. Love and all that it entails is awaiting us in the embodiment of who we are together. We smile with the knowing that our soul connection takes us to worlds near and far. Through separation, fear, death, and new life, we will find each other, whatever happens. We will know each other, no matter the physical appearance. What of our soul group? Will we remain intact? We ponder this as the fire crackles and spits. The kindling catches the spark and lights brilliantly, giving life to the flame. We are comforted by the bright, warm flame, the flame of a fiery soul, bringing forth its light for all to see. That is our mission, to help all become aware so their light may shine. Settling into night, the dogs asleep by the fire, night wind howling, horses now calm and sleeping, we gaze upward into the heavens. In our knowing, a certainty exists that whether we live another day, we will meet again. And as we revel in the love that surrounds us through nature's bounty and its harshness, we have a strong faith. The faith of the ancients is foretold by our elders and passed down through time. We feel the collective energy of the universe and know we are protected in our love for each other. Wrapping ourselves up against the cold night, we lie in warmth. Warmth of love, of light, of faith. A mission is ours to keep and hold. We will fulfill it for those who come after us. We will know success as we sleep. We send blessings to those who carry the torch of universal truth to the future world. Gratefully hold the space of love and peace to that ideal, in hopes that the faith we hold passes on in the souls of our dear ones. Sleepy, falling down into dreaming, we go together, traveling once again to our homeland, aware that we cannot go there in body, but happy now we go in spirit. So emotional.
So beautiful. I felt that in every fiber. It's just, it's the truth.
It is the truth. It's the truth. It's the way, and it's the light. Not to quote the Bible, because there's a lot of the Bible that I love, but there's a lot that we know
Yes. Is not true.
right. So, but it is true. This is the truth, and
What is true?
It's just when you read it, because you feel it.
Yes.
Like you said. Anyway, so that's part of what.
It's so beautiful. You should also do I feel like a voice book.
I know, I've been thinking about that, but my voice is not the best voice.
Or have somebody else read it.
I know, on Audible. It's very poetic.
Because it puts you in a meditative state.
Hey, maybe that's part of the whole energetic, what's the word? Connection, and then translation, and then what's the word? Maybe that is supposed to happen, the vibration of the audible.
Yes. Yes, because
it is, right?
Because sound is the new way to kind of move people into the new consciousness. And if there's the word, the thing is, the book is so beautiful. You can read it, and of course you receive it. If you can meditate with that, then it takes you to a whole nother level.
And you are leveling up through the vibration, not just by seeing it, but also by hearing it, is basically what you're saying, which
yes,
really occurred to me. But I've been thinking lately, because everything is on Audible now, and everyone's doing podcasts, and everything is
that sound vibration.
Yeah. So I need to do that. You're
Yeah,
right.
you do. Because as soon as you started reading, I needed to close my eyes.
Right. Because it is the vibration of.
It's the vibration. You're channeling truth. I know you don't like that word, but
I don't mind that word at all.
You're receiving truth.
No, I know, and I knew it when I was channeling. I mean,
When you were writing that, what did you see?
So the whole scene, I saw every scene. Like it's like a movie. So
Did you see Mary Magdalene?
But I don't see
the figures.
But the children I did. That's what me. But no. But the feeling is the feeling. Like I was there.
Like you were there. You were involved.
Because I guess I don't think I could have effectively done it without really feeling exactly what it felt like. You know what I mean? Like when she leaves, that was very, very, very difficult to do anything after that. The rest of that day, I couldn't. I knew if I talked to anyone, it wouldn't be okay. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, the only way I can describe it is being emotionally raw. Because that she chose, or they chose to show me that, and that's what I shared. Part of the book. And it's not everything, and sometimes it's not in great detail, but it isn't really about the detail, like you say.
About the feeling.
It's about the feeling and the vibration. And once you feel the feeling, then you're already up leveling.
Because the truth sets us free, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. It set me free. I didn't understand it when it was all happening, but I knew. I mean, I knew at a soul level when the transformation was taking place in Glastonbury. It all happened before I left. So I knew coming home, okay, So how am I going to integrate this new me into the life that I currently have? And I didn't judge it. I just said, I'll just do it and I'll see how it all turns out.
So the new you became a new level of consciousness. Was it like, where did you feel the transformation exactly?
Well, pretty much. So physically or emotionally?
Yeah, both.
Level. Really, at the soul level, I knew, because also the people in the retreat, it was a group of all women, 15 people and one man. But there's a group of 6 or 7 of us that are still very close. So that was my obvious soul, part of my soul group. So it was a reunion of souls, really, and then meant to make that come about, to allow that to come about. So that was really beautiful, and I knew that at the soul level. And I knew the acceptance was immediate. There was no like what we have, that's how it was. Imagine that. And I was so relieved, because you don't always meet people that are spiritual and totally accepting,
What made you sign up for that?
I had just been getting emails from the International Association of Conscious and Creative Writing, and I'm not really sure how I came to get them originally. I maybe from Mike Dooley, because I followed him since he was way before he was famous. So maybe from him, but I don't remember. But because I kept wanting to try to start writing, at the personal level, not at the business level. And then the one day I was reading it and I knew I have to do that. And because I've been on the journey, let's go back to me. I've been on the journey for a really long time. I mean, like over 25 years. So, you pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
And you know the signs. And so I knew I had to go, and I did.
So what kind of journey did you have? Were you always connected to the Christ consciousness?
Yes, I was. I was always connected to that level of faith. In my whole life, I've had a very deep faith, and I grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved all that, the deep faith part of it. I just always had that. I never questioned it, and I loved it. And then that carried me through all this, I think, because that's always a part of you, I think. And so, and obviously I chose it. But it's just very strong. And that was always the common thread, was the faith. And then I just know, and I knew, and I've known, I guess it was about 26 years ago, I think I told you on Palm Sunday, I have a spiritual friend here in Atlanta. A lot of my awakening happened in Atlanta when I moved here to start the Georgia Lottery, which is such a juxtaposition.
It is.
And then I just had this huge evolution, and that was another deep dive that got me on the path. And then I was seeking, and on that day, on Palm Sunday, 26 years ago, I had the vision of the crucifixion. And that was in a past life regression. Right. And that was way before the book. So right. I knew that I was part of the Christ consciousness. And I recall that vividly. So, and it was very strong. So I knew that. I kind of already knew that based on who I was. Mm-hmm. But then I think that was the impetus to get me to move forward and keep seeking, because it was always there for me. It was just, I guess at the time of that we're all in now, and that we're all doing what we have to do to help the planet ascend. And I think that's so, it's all in divine timing. But so, yeah, I've always had that level of faith. I've always had a really strong feeling of knowing that I'm part of the time of Christ, and Mary Magdalene, and Mary, Mother of Jesus, and all of that. I've always kind of known that. Mm. I love that.
Have you been to other places where, the their footsteps have crossed?
Not really, no. And I don't even know, but I've been to France and Provence and, the south of France, and I was totally led there. And I had no idea why. And I love France like it's my home. And I'm, part of my family's Italian. I've never had any desire to go to Italy, but France and where I went in the south of France, but I never knew Avignon. I never knew.
Right.
And of course I know now.
Right.
So I always follow that, whether I know or not. I always follow the thread.
That's what I like about you, Susan, is that you have this, just, it's like a purity. You don't follow this like, oh, somebody's gonna tell me where to go, or let me look it up and maybe that's a good place for me. You just follow your heart, and that's, I love that about you.
It's not always easy, when you're a parent. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
But we all chose what we chose.
But it's a fearless attitude, and that's where we need to be in this new consciousness.
Absolutely, we really
going deeper in our hearts with a fearless attitude.
Absolutely, we have to be fearless. I've always been fearless, but especially with this mission, because there's no alternative. There's just not. It's all about love. It's all love. So, but it's so much easier. People, because of cultural conditioning, unfortunately, we've all had to deal with that. And, growing up Catholic, obviously that was part of my transformation too, to see, that dichotomy and where I am now and what I know to be true on a spiritual level. That's been a very, very long journey, but I'm fine with it. But I've never been afraid. But I think that's how we've been, all of us, through this.
All of us. Because the thing is that the church, it kind of instills fear into people so that you remain where you are and that you are God-fearing. But we are different because we've broken through that veil.
Well, yeah, and I think we've all always known that, because it just doesn't make sense.
That's right.
And that's where the divine feminine is very important, because it can't ever be, or it doesn't make sense that men should be in charge of everything. And I've always felt that, no matter what. And not that there's anything wrong with men, but it's just the way it's evolved. And
That's
now
right.
It's time for us to help everyone else understand, because the divine feminine energy is completely different than the divine masculine energy. And obviously it needs to be integrated within each of us, because we can't just be one or the other, because it is the divine mother, the divine father, and
Divine child.
divine child. And that is the Holy Trinity.
That is.
And it's not just about, Father God. It's Father God, Mother God. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so enlightening, and it feels so refreshing.
And complete.
Right. That we acknowledge that. So that's a huge part of what I'm doing too. Because I think, unfortunately, with women, we've been given the heavy load. And so, especially women of a certain age, and I am of a certain age, I know I am, and I don't mind that. But you go through life, you get married, you have children, or you don't get married and have children, you have a huge career, whatever it is. But people who are still saying to themselves, I have all these things and I'm doing all these great things, but I still feel like something's missing. I still felt like something was missing when I went to Glastonbury. And I'm very spiritual, but I still knew that there was something else. And there was, and that's what it was. And now I don't feel like anything's missing. So that's why we have to follow our heart, because that's where the song is. It's in our heart. It's like we're saying. And that is the consciousness now. It's our heart consciousness. Your brain is always going to tell you what your beliefs are, but beliefs aren't etheric energy. You know,
Right.
all energy, it's all a vibration. And
That's
that's each soul has a unique vibration. And that's what people need to know. They need to know that every one of them are unique, because now, you know, there are a lot of things going on in the world and people don't feel sometimes very uplifted. And I think that's very uplifting to let people know that they are unique beings. And that's part of
absolutely.
the work I'm doing. So, you know, we have to all try to do our part.
We are, and that's, you know, and that's why the books are coming out. People are self-publishing because it's like, I don't care what it takes. I need to get this book out there. And
Exactly. That's why I self-published, because I just couldn't.
wait.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I felt. I could not wait. I'm like, I'm just doing it. Just doing it. Whatever happens, happens. Whoever's meant to see it will see it. Whoever gets the energy will get it. You know, and it will happen because it's divinely inspired.
It is, and it will. And I feel like, you know, even if you didn't have a book, Susan, I would have interviewed you anyway. Because you know, the feeling I have with you, the connection, even just in our discussions, and you know, I just felt such a deep connection. And I said, wow, you know, whatever she has to say is so prevalent to what we're all going through right now.
And it's not easy for any of us, so we all have to help each other.
Yes. And we have to come together instead of, you know, bringing each other down or being envious or jealous.
And there's room for everyone, and that's what the message is. That's why we need to be self-aware, so that we know who we are, because when we know who we are, then we really know that we're not like anyone else. So each soul is unique, and each soul has a unique gift that's going to help. It's a puzzle.
Yes, it's a puzzle.
Put pieces together, and then we'll all ascend. You know, however long that takes, it's up to us to come together.
Yes, and you know, someone's soul signature might be different from somebody else's soul signature, but there's always, it seems like the ink is the same,
Right.
right? Because that's what links us.
Yeah, the thread. And in the book, I say we're all the fabric of life. So one without the other thread that's woven together through the existence of all of us is necessary to keep us strong. But when, you know, there's a snag or there's something, the thread isn't woven, the fabric can't be strong. That's the analogy I use in the
That's
book.
a great analogy.
I mean, it just was all that what I channeled, and that's all divine. And it's not like people ask me, well, how did you decide to write this book? And I thankfully I didn't have to do anything.
Right, you didn't decide.
I didn't choose it. It was given to me and I accepted. But that's the other part of it. We have to understand and be at least conscious enough to say yes, because we do all have a purpose.
That's right. The thing is, that's other people are really starting to feel challenged with their soul purpose, and I feel like they're ignoring the voice, or they're ignoring the signs. And I, you know, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, how do we, you know, listen to that voice, or how do we pay attention to those signs? And maybe you have some insight on that.
Well, that's what being self-aware is all about. You have to create space in your day, and you have to start doing it. Let's say you can start with 5 minutes if you're not doing anything. If you're doing meditation, if you do have quiet time in your day, because when you're quiet without the distraction of everything else, that's when you can listen.
Yes.
And it takes practice, and it takes sometimes a long time, but you have to listen. So you have to figure out, what is it that drives me? What is my real passion? Because your true passion is linked to what your gift is. So when we're young, when we say, oh, I want to be this when I grow up, it really does have something to do with what your gift is. And so without being self-aware, without quiet time, we can't become self-aware, because we can't connect to the heart space, and we can't listen to the messages that we are getting from the universe, from our ascended masters and divine guides and angels, whatever you want to call them. They're giving you signs all the time. And so when you're open, and when you become self-aware, and when you start doing exercises like I have in the book, but even if you just journal, create 5 or 10 minutes every morning and just sit in silence and think about what really moves you, what really lights your fire, what your passion is. Follow that thread. That's what I say, because that is the beginning of knowing who you really are. And once you follow the thread, and once you start extending the time that you spend with yourself, whether it's in nature or wherever it is, the quiet time is what really keeps you, gets you to where your heart space is. And so once you get there, make it a regular practice. And then I do, like in work, in my online course, the first thing I want to do with people is a vision board with no thought or analysis of anything. Just put down pictures of what it is that you really love, like your dream, everything that you dream of, that you love. And once you do that, you have a pretty clear picture of who you really are. And then we move things around. And then you say, oh, wow. Because sometimes you don't realize that, because people are so busy doing their job, taking care of their family and everything else. So that's the first thing, to try to create space in your day. Try to do a little vision board, even if you draw, even if you color, whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Pictures, just try to get a clear picture of who you really are, not who your parents taught you to be, not who your husband wants you to be or your kids, who you really are. That's the secret to self-awareness. And then there's other things you can do. But if you can create space in your day and be quiet, listen to your heart, those are the things that will get us to be able to listen to what's coming in for us. Because it could be staring you right in the face.
Yeah.
And it most likely is.
Right. And I feel like sometimes the divine kind of keeps giving it to you in different forms, and keeps, like, for example, like the email that you received, you kept receiving that email.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I think a lot of people can't see it. They're just not seeing it, and then finally clicks. Of course, it's divine timing.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also feel like you can, while you're waiting for that divine timing, you can stay in a positive place and allowing for whatever needs to move and shift inside yourself, so that you can make space for that new shift.
Absolutely. And it all will be in divine timing. And it all is for a reason. And it'll be obvious.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's even hard for me on some days, and and you've helped me, because moving has been really stressful, because for whatever reason it always is for everyone.
For everyone.
Because it's another transition, and we all like to stay where we are. And it's another up leveling, but trusting is the key, really, to all this. Whether you have faith, whatever you want to call it, we have to understand that this really is everything is divinely provided, and we are all protected, and we are all provided for. And trusting as source, as spirit, that's who we are, trusting that will move forward in a way that's positive for us. Because that's the problem we have, because of cultural conditioning, that people aren't easily trusted. And I say that, maybe from a religious standpoint, from church and from things like that, because people were always taught, if you did this, you'll go to hell.
Right.
When you grow up like that, it's really difficult to lose that cultural conditioning.
Right.
Conditioning of your parents. So we're all faced with that. But once you see the evidence of it happening, oh yes, I am provided for, and yes, I believe. So once you see that, and it happens over a period of time, for some people it happens fast. For some people it can take your whole life, but that's your choice. We all have a choice.
Yeah.
But as soon as you choose and you say, oh yeah, you know, like I said, okay, I'll do it. That's the thing. If you just say yes and you trust, it will happen. It will. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It really is. I just want to hear maybe one more.
Okay. What do you want to hear? From the physical guide or from...
Why don't you just flip through the book and see what comes up?
Okay. All right. Good idea. I do that every day. It's really, really good. So that's where the spirit takes us. Okay. Ooh. So death and loss. That's a really emotional one. Are you sure you want me to read it? It's
What number is it?
It's page 41. It's chapter 11. It's, well, I mean, that's where I went. It's really exactly, well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've been seeing this a lot lately, to be honest with you. Okay, we pause, and with heavy hearts, we faithfully remember our leader who represented the Christ consciousness of unconditional love. This is a part of our history in the larger world, apart from the value it holds for our family. Heartbreak at the death of a loved one is difficult to describe. A permanent hole exists in my soul, even though I understand the transition of spirit from the body upon death. I know they are here with us and everywhere in the ether, yet the physical loss is numbing. The earth connection of our body and another spirit never dies. In this foreign land, we complete our first meal with the cup that was used for delivering the message of love at the final meeting of our word bearers, our disciples. I feel a second wave of grief and heartbreaking loss. Why, I want to yell to the world. But for now, the movement must carry on so that he did not die in vain. We must carry the truth, not the dogma, to the world, as we've been told by the church. The truth is that our Savior did not come to transform people in judgment. He came to deliver the word that love is all there is, unconditional love. That is it. The world cannot remain as it is. We silently mourn in this eternal place meant for legends. Memories filter through me in my mind's eye. I see the images of our life together, playing with him as a child, laughing, tumbling, hiding in the trees, playing as if we had forever together. And in that moment, we did have forever. For that moment lives on in my heart. Now we accept our destiny as we leave to spread the word. We will survive, not as we were, but as new people, created by this experience of loss in our lives. Keep a small place in your heart for the person you used to be. Never let it die. For without that piece of the puzzle, your evolution is for naught. It is the constant reminder of your humanity. We all suffer and we all have doubts. Keep it, treasure it, and love it. Do not hide it. So onward we go. We walk the path in our minds and in our hearts as we start a new day. The history lives on through us. No matter the trial or tribulation, we are guided by the one love. The love is the connection we share. Dear ones, as we are each a thread in the great fabric of life, we keep weaving it through the bumps and snags. But we are always weaving the thread as part of the whole. Never forget, never forget. And with the memory, keep the faith. The knowledge that we are provided for always is there. Within each of us is the key. The choice is yours alone. The key unlocks the door to vast treasures that lie inside each of us. So that is where Spirit led me.
That's everything we spoke of.
Exactly. It's the recap.
It is.
But it's very emotional for me.
So I decided that you cannot do the audiobook because you would be crying the whole time.
Too emotional. I can't help it. I wrote this in 2015. So this is 4 years that I wrote it. And it's very, very much a part of who I am. And I read it every day. Not the whole book, but parts of it.
Well, thank you so much for creating this book.
Thank you so much for allowing me. So I'm so glad that we connected, and hopefully in person we'll see each other.
Yes, we will. We will. Maybe in Glastonbury.
You know what? I was thinking that I think that's part of what we need to do.
Yeah.
We could do a workshop there or something.
Yeah.
So it is.
And so it is. So I thank you again. You filled my heart with true blessings this afternoon. I feel, I don't know if I can really do much today after this. But so where can people find the book?
So my book is on Amazon, it's on iTunes, and it's all online. What's the other one? Can't remember, but it's on Amazon and iTunes.
Okay, and then if you want to share your website.
So my website it's kind of hard. It's snefzgerpr.wordpress.com.
Okay, we'll also put it below in the comments of the YouTube.
And everything is there. I have poetry and photos, and then I have my books, and then my online course.
Perfect. It was such a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Valeria.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.